It's a huge opening cut into the bedrock. When you do see them, they are the shafts that lead to tombs.
For over 2 millennia, the final resting place of one of history's most iconic figures, Cleopatra, remained a mystery.
That might end up with her being buried in a temple, and her lost tomb could be found there.
Generations of archaeologists, historians, and adventurers had searched for her tomb with little more than legends, myths, and tantalizing hints as their guides. Cleopatra, the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic Kingdom of Egypt, became a symbol of power, beauty, and intrigue. Her life and reign intertwined with some of the most famous figures in history, such as Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. But where she was buried was something that eluded even the most determined seekers. That is, until now, the myth of Cleopatra's tomb. In what can only be described as a monumental discovery in the field of archaeology, scientists, led by a team of Egyptian archaeologists, have uncovered the long-sought tomb of Cleopatra. And the location is nothing short of shocking, as it was hiding in plain sight, right under our noses, so to speak. Today, we will dive into the journey that led to the discovery, the history surrounding Cleopatra's death, and the profound significance of this monumental find. For centuries, historians and archaeologists alike have speculated on the possible locations of Cleopatra's tomb. Most theories placed it somewhere in Alexandria, Egypt, as that was the capital of the Ptolemaic Empire and Cleopatra's final place of residence. The most accepted belief, however, was that she had been buried alongside her lover, Mark Antony, in a grand tomb that would have rivaled any of Egypt's famous pharaohs. Several ancient sources support the notion that Cleopatra's tomb lay somewhere near the Mediterranean coast, specifically near Alexandria. Plutarch, the Greek historian, wrote that Cleopatra was buried near Antony. However, after the death of Cleopatra and the fall of the Ptolemaic dynasty in 30 BCE, Alexandria was plunged into political and social upheaval. Augustus, who became Rome's first emperor, sought to erase the memory of his rivals, including Cleopatra and Antony. It is believed that their tomb, along with the riches and symbols of their reign, was deliberately hidden or destroyed. This led many to believe that Cleopatra's tomb had been lost forever, buried beneath centuries of political change, earthquakes, and even the natural deterioration of Alexandria itself. Some suggested it might have been swallowed by the sea, while others believed it had been looted or obliterated during the Christianization of Egypt. But despite these theories, no concrete evidence emerged for the true location of her final resting place. A new discovery in the Egyptian desert. In 2025, after decades of unfruitful searches, a breakthrough came. A team of archaeologists, headed by Dr. Zahi Hawass, the famed Egyptian archaeologist known for his work on Tutankhamun's tomb, stumbled upon what could very well be the long-lost burial site of Cleopatra. It wasn't in the bustling streets of Alexandria, nor did it sit beneath layers of ancient ruins. Instead, the tomb was found about 30 kilometers, 18 miles, southwest of the city, in a region of Egypt that had been largely overlooked by previous excavations. The site, an ancient temple complex dedicated to Isis, the goddess of fertility and magic, had been buried beneath centuries of desert sands. The team, using advanced geophysical technology and ground-penetrating radar, identified an unusual anomaly deep within the temple complex. Upon digging, they unearthed a series of chambers and crypts, the most significant of which contained a sarcophagus inscribed with the names of both Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. The fact that this tomb had been hidden in such an unassuming place challenged centuries of academic assumptions. Some even speculated that the tomb had been purposefully concealed. possibly to protect it from tomb robbers or those who wished to erase the memory of Cleopatra and Antony from history. Why did her tomb remain hidden for so long? The question that many are asking is why, after all this time, the tomb of Cleopatra remained hidden. There are several theories, some practical and some more speculative. First and foremost, the political climate following Cleopatra's death was hostile to her legacy. Augustus, as the ruler of Rome, had a vested interest in erasing the image of Cleopatra as a powerful and seductive queen. By destroying or concealing her tomb, Augustus could deny her a proper burial, and, in doing so, sever the symbolic link between Cleopatra and the future of Egypt. Additionally, the region around Alexandria has undergone significant natural disasters over the centuries. Earthquakes, floods, and even the rising and falling of the sea have drastically changed the landscape. The tomb of Cleopatra could have been buried beneath layers of sediment or submerged in the waters of the Mediterranean, which made it incredibly difficult to locate. Finally, there's the practical aspect of archaeology itself. For centuries, the focus of excavations was primarily on pharaonic tombs, as these were seen as the most significant in Egypt's history. Cleopatra, while important, was seen more as a historical figure from the classical world rather than someone linked directly to Egypt's ancient traditions. It wasn't until modern archaeological methods and a deeper understanding of Egypt's Greco-Roman period emerged that researchers began looking for Cleopatra's tomb in places where earlier teams had dismissed them. The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb, if it's the most authentic one, is momentous for several reasons. For one, it adds a new chapter to the long and storied history of Egypt's ancient past. Cleopatra is one of the most famous figures in history. Her intelligence, political acumen, and legendary love affairs with two of Rome's most powerful men have made her a symbol of intrigue and power. Finding her tomb is like finding the final missing piece of a puzzle that has been incomplete for centuries. Moreover, the tomb could provide invaluable insights into the Ptolemaic dynasty's final years. The wealth and artifacts within the tomb will likely shed new light on Cleopatra's reign and the political and cultural dynamics of the time. The presence of both Cleopatra and Mark Antony in the tomb also hints at the personal and political connections between Egypt and Rome at that time. This could potentially rewrite parts of Roman and Egyptian history, offering a more nuanced understanding of their relationship. The excavation of Cleopatra's tomb is just the beginning. In the coming years, archaeologists will no doubt continue to study the site, hoping to uncover more details about the lives and deaths of both Cleopatra and Mark Antony. The tomb is expected to yield countless artifacts, from jewelry and inscriptions to statues and paintings, all of which will help us understand the last days of the Ptolemaic Kingdom. With the tomb's discovery, the world is once again drawn to the romanticized and tragic story of Cleopatra, and it will undoubtedly fuel more interest in Egyptology and the study of the ancient world. It's also likely that the discovery will spark renewed interest in Cleopatra as a figure of historical importance. While much of her life has been mythologized, there's a lot we can still learn about the woman who shaped the course of history. Her tomb may hold not just her physical remains, but clues about her identity, her empire, and the very moment when Egypt and Rome collided in one of the most dramatic ways possible. The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb after more than 2,000 years is a triumph of modern archaeology. It is the culmination of years of research, technological innovation, and, most importantly, the collective desire to uncover the mysteries of the ancient world. As scientists continue to explore the site, we can only imagine what secrets this tomb will reveal. Cleopatra's life, her reign, and her legacy are far from forgotten. And now, thanks to this extraordinary find, we are closer than ever to understanding the full story of Egypt's last queen. Until the world and the public see her remains, The myth of her tomb will never end, just like her everlasting beauty, and Cleopatra culture not just in Egypt, but across continents. Who exactly is this lady, and why is she celebrated? The queen who shaped history. Cleopatra VII, Egypt's last and most famous pharaoh, has become an enduring figure in history, largely because of her complex life and mysterious death. She wasn't just a queen. She was a strategist, a diplomat, and a woman who navigated a world of Roman political intrigue with both power and grace. Her reign, full of political maneuvering and passionate relationships with two of Rome's most powerful figures, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, has cemented her place in the history books. But it's the question of how she died that continues to captivate people. Did Cleopatra kill herself in a dramatic act of defiance, or was she murdered to ensure her place in Roman history? Cleopatra wasn't just a pretty face or a woman with powerful lovers. She was a highly intelligent and politically savvy ruler. She was born in 69 BCE to the Ptolemaic dynasty, which had ruled Egypt since the time of Alexander the Great. Despite her Greek heritage, Cleopatra embraced Egyptian culture and became the first Ptolemaic ruler to speak the Egyptian language. This made her not just a foreign ruler, but a symbol of Egypt's rich history and its future. When she took the throne at the age of 18, Cleopatra inherited a kingdom that was struggling under the weight of Roman influence. Egypt was a powerful, wealthy nation, but it was caught in the growing tide of Roman imperialism. Cleopatra quickly understood that Egypt's survival depended on its ability to form strategic alliances, and that's exactly what she did. Her first major political alliance was with Julius Caesar, whom she famously met in a rather unconventional way. According to legend, she had herself smuggled into Caesar's presence wrapped in a carpet, or a bed sack, depending on the version of the story, to meet him in person. It was a bold move, and it worked. They became lovers, and Cleopatra gave birth to Caesar's son, Caesarion. When Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, Cleopatra was left with a major political void to fill. Enter Mark Antony. After Caesar's death, Rome fell into civil war, and Antony rose to power. Cleopatra and Antony's relationship was both romantic and political. They were allies in every sense, and they even had 3 children together. Their union, however, eventually led to Antony's downfall. He went head-to-head with Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, and the final battle came at Actium in 31 BCE. Despite their combined forces, Antony and Cleopatra lost, and the end of their reign was inevitable. The mysterious death, self-harm, or murder. Now, let's dive into the mystery of Cleopatra's death, which remains one of history's most debated topics. In 30 BCE, after their defeat by Octavian's forces, both Cleopatra and Antony faced capture. Antony, believing Cleopatra had already died, a rumor spread by Octavian, killed himself by falling on his sword. When he was brought to Cleopatra's tomb, he died in her arms. But what about Cleopatra? Did she take her own life? Or was there something more sinister at play? The traditional narrative suggests that Cleopatra chose the unthinkable as her final act. The most famous version of this story is that she died from the bite of an asp, a venomous snake, in a dramatic and poignant moment. This image of a regal, defiant queen choosing death over the humiliation of Roman capture has been romanticized in countless works of art, literature, and film. But is it possible that Cleopatra's death was more complicated than just a tragic self-harm? Some historians believe that Cleopatra may have been murdered. Octavian, who would later become the first emperor of Rome, had every reason to eliminate her as a potential rival. Cleopatra was not just a queen, but a powerful political player who had challenged Rome's interests. If she had survived, there's a chance she could have still influenced Roman politics in some way. For Octavian, killing Cleopatra would ensure that there were no further obstacles to his absolute control over Egypt and the Roman world. But what about the idea of self-harm? The argument here is that Cleopatra might not have simply accepted defeat and allowed herself to die out of despair. She was a brilliant, calculating ruler who had outwitted many others during her life. Would it make sense for her to throw it all away at the end? Some scholars argue that Cleopatra's death could have been the result of something more calculated, a final move in her ongoing battle for power and survival. It's worth noting that Cleopatra was known for her knowledge of poisons and potions. There's even some speculation that she might have used poison in a more controlled way, rather than relying on the traditional snakebite story. If she did choose to end her life, it's possible that Cleopatra used a slower, more subtle method that allowed her to maintain some degree of control over her death. But did she really choose it, or was it forced upon her? No one definitely and absolutely knows. Queen for the ages. Whether you believe she chose self-harm in a final act of defiance, or think she was murdered as part of a political plot, Cleopatra's story is one of ambition, intelligence, and undeniable power. Her death marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the beginning of Egypt's absorption into the Roman Empire. Yet, even in her death, Cleopatra managed to remain a symbol of strength, beauty, and strategic thinking. She may have been defeated in the end, but in a way, she won. Her story continues to inspire countless books, films, and discussions, proving that Cleopatra is not just a historical figure, but a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and the struggle for power. Was Cleopatra's death self-inflicted, or was it the result of a calculated political assassination? The truth may never be known for sure. What we do know is that her life, full of twists and turns, challenges and alliances, was as remarkable as her death remains mysterious. Cleopatra's legacy, whether tragic or triumphant, will live on forever. Truth of her remains. While there are references to the royal couple's burial, the exact location is never revealed. The tomb, described as magnificent, was said to be situated near the Alexandrian royal palace, but the destruction of Alexandria in the following centuries, and later the city's neglect and development, obscured any further clues. These early writings, while fascinating, did little to provide archaeologists with concrete evidence of the tomb's location. They raised tantalizing possibilities, but also fueled centuries of speculation, misdirection, and even false claims. For centuries, the location of Cleopatra's tomb remained a source of mystery and intrigue. Early archaeological efforts in Alexandria were often focused on grand architectural structures and temples, with little attention paid to the search for the tomb of Cleopatra. In the 19th century, as Egyptology began to emerge as a formal field of study, some archaeologists took an interest in locating royal burial sites. Yet, even as they made breakthroughs with tombs of earlier pharaohs and powerful figures, Cleopatra's final resting place remained elusive. One of the first significant modern attempts to find Cleopatra's tomb took place in the early 20th century. This was a time when many believed the tomb was buried somewhere beneath the modern city of Alexandria, a place of sprawling streets, busy markets, and ancient ruins. In the 20s, an Italian archaeologist named Rodolfo Lanciani made some headway by uncovering parts of the ancient royal district of Alexandria. But these excavations did not turn up any direct evidence linking to Cleopatra's tomb. Over the years, several other expeditions followed, but they mostly came up short. The problem, many archaeologists realized, wasn't necessarily in the search itself, but rather in the condition of the city. Alexandria had undergone significant destruction over the centuries, not only from natural disasters like earthquakes, but also from human activity. As the city grew in the medieval and modern eras, much of the ancient city was built over. This made the task of locating Cleopatra's tomb incredibly difficult, and many believed the tomb could be buried under layers of history, lost forever. Archaeological expeditions and their findings. Despite setbacks, key archaeological expeditions have shed new light on the search for Cleopatra's tomb. In 2005, an important breakthrough occurred when a team of archaeologists, led by Kathleen Martinez, began excavating a site near the Temple of Taposiris Magna, some 30 kilometers west of Alexandria. This location was significant because ancient sources had hinted that Cleopatra and Mark Antony might have been buried in a temple complex. The Taposiris Magna site seemed to match these ancient descriptions. Over the years, excavations at Taposiris Magna have unearthed a wealth of artifacts, including statues of Egyptian gods, inscriptions, and coins that date back to the Ptolemaic period. But the real significance of this find lies in the structure itself, remains of what could have been a royal burial site. Martinez and her team have found evidence of a massive burial complex, though the tomb of Cleopatra remains elusive. Some of the remains found at the site suggest a connection to Cleopatra's era, and while no definitive evidence has been found linking the tomb to Cleopatra herself, the site remains one of the most promising in the search for the lost queen. In recent decades, the advancement of technology has revolutionized archaeological searches, and the search for Cleopatra's tomb is no exception. Traditional excavation methods have been complemented by cutting-edge techniques like ground-penetrating radar, GPR, 3D mapping, and satellite imaging. These tools allow archaeologists to look beneath the surface without disturbing the earth, and can provide a clearer picture of what lies buried beneath centuries of accumulated soil, sand, and construction. For example, GPR has been used to survey the area around Taposiris Magna and other sites in Alexandria. These surveys have revealed anomalies that suggest the presence of large burial chambers, possibly linked to Cleopatra and Antony. In addition, the use of drones and aerial imaging has helped archaeologists map out the contours of ancient structures that might have been hidden for millennia. While these methods have yet to produce definitive proof of Cleopatra's tomb, they are narrowing down the possibilities, offering new directions for investigation. Another groundbreaking method being employed is DNA analysis. In 2007, researchers obtained DNA samples from mummified remains found in Alexandria, which they believed could be linked to Cleopatra's family. Although there were challenges in confirming the identity of these remains, DNA technology holds the potential to reveal more about the connections between the remains found at various excavation sites and the royal family of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Advances in dating methods and isotope analysis may also allow archaeologists to more accurately pinpoint the time frame in which Cleopatra's tomb was likely sealed, offering further clues. The complexities of Alexandria's history, the city's urban sprawl, and the ever-changing nature of the land make the task of finding the tomb incredibly challenging. Even with modern technology, much of the area surrounding Alexandria remains uncharted, and many historical records are incomplete or conflicting. Cleopatra, the ancient queen of Egypt, has long been a symbol of power, beauty, and intrigue, her legacy far outlasting her time. The Cleopatra effect. She continues to captivate our collective imagination, influencing everything from fashion to film. What's fascinating about Cleopatra is not just her historical role, but the way she has been reinterpreted and mythologized throughout the ages. Her image has been used as a symbol of seductive femininity, intellectual power, and political savvy. These qualities have not only shaped how we view her in history, but also how she has become embedded in modern culture. Fashion, for one, has been deeply impacted by Cleopatra's iconic look. The golden headdresses, dramatic eyeliner, and ornate jewelry have become synonymous with regal beauty. The powerful, almost theatrical look she embodied in ancient Egypt is often reflected in contemporary fashion, particularly in high-end design. Fashion houses like Valentino and Jean Paul Gaultier have drawn direct inspiration from her, creating collections that evoke the grandeur and mystique of Egypt. Her distinct style has transcended centuries, making a mark on both everyday and runway fashion. Cleopatra's appearance is timeless, with the boldness of her attire and makeup continuing to inspire new generations of designers and makeup artists alike. In film, Cleopatra's portrayal has had a lasting impact, most notably in the 1963 epic starring Elizabeth Taylor. This film version of Cleopatra became a cultural touchstone, defining how the queen would be viewed for decades. Elizabeth Taylor's performance became the gold standard for portraying Cleopatra's charisma and beauty, though it also contributed to a somewhat romanticized version of her life. Over the years, Cleopatra's image in film has evolved, but the fascination with her remains. Even today, modern filmmakers continue to be inspired by her, using her story as a vehicle for exploring themes of power, love, and tragedy. Pop culture's ongoing love affair with Cleopatra is a testament to her lasting influence. Her name is often used as a reference to powerful, captivating women in music, television, and literature. Beyoncé's reference to Cleopatra in her music video for Deja Vu, for example, directly channels the Queen's strength and beauty. Celebrities and public figures often invoke Cleopatra as a metaphor for power, with her ability to command attention and influence others being both a symbol of her reign and of women's strength in general. The Cleopatra effect, in this sense, shows how her legacy continues to resonate with modern ideas of beauty, success, and identity. Cleopatra's story, whether in history or in the popular imagination, challenges us to think beyond stereotypes and to view her not just as a subject of fascination, but as a woman who shaped history on her own terms. Her legacy is not only in how she is remembered, but also in the ways in which she continues to influence modern culture and society. Through fashion, film, and pop culture, Cleopatra's impact is far from over. She remains an enduring symbol of strength, beauty, and complexity, offering inspiration to generations past, present, and future. Where is she? The discovery of Cleopatra's tomb has sent shockwaves through the world of archaeology, history, and Egyptology. It promises to rewrite a chapter of ancient history that has long been shrouded in mystery. But as with many groundbreaking discoveries, it has also sparked intense skepticism and debate, particularly about the tomb's authenticity. A number of archaeologists and historians have raised questions about whether the tomb actually belongs to Cleopatra and her lover, the Roman general Mark Antony. Some argue that the discovery is too sudden, and the evidence provided so far is inconclusive. Others suggest that the site may have been misidentified, and that the tomb might actually belong to a different historical figure altogether. There are also those who caution against jumping to conclusions, reminding the public that, in the past, many sensational archaeological finds turned out to be hoaxes or misattributions. The lack of physical inscriptions bearing Cleopatra's name or definitive markers that would prove her identity leaves room for doubt, and many critics believe that the discovery is more of a media-driven spectacle than a genuine breakthrough. While many embrace the idea of finding Cleopatra's final resting place, others are wary of the rush to validate the tomb based on speculative evidence. The archaeological community remains divided, and there's no consensus on whether this tomb really belongs to one of the most famous queens in history. Despite the skepticism, there is a growing excitement over the potential significance of the tomb if it turns out to be authentic. If this tomb is truly Cleopatra's, it would represent an extraordinary discovery, providing rare insights into one of ancient Egypt's most iconic figures. Cleopatra has fascinated historians, scholars, and the general public for centuries, and the possibility of unearthing her final resting place is incredibly tantalizing. The tomb could unlock secrets about her reign, her relationship with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and the dramatic events that led to the fall of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Moreover, it might offer new clues about the political and cultural landscape of late antiquity Egypt, an era that marked the end of the ancient Egyptian civilization and the beginning of Roman rule in the region. The discovery could also shed light on the personal life of Cleopatra, who has been immortalized in literature, film, and art. Understanding more about her burial, her final days, and the context in which she lived could deepen our understanding of her legacy, both in her time and in the centuries that followed. In addition to the historical importance of the tomb, the discovery is reshaping the field of Egyptology in the modern world. It has sparked a renewed interest in ancient Egyptian culture, art, and history, and has placed a spotlight on Egypt's rich archaeological heritage. The tomb, if it truly belongs to Cleopatra, would be the culmination of decades of excavation work, and it has already ignited discussions about the future of Egyptian archaeology. The site could become a major attraction for scholars, tourists, and history enthusiasts alike. Its discovery is likely to spark a surge of funding and interest in excavations across Egypt, possibly leading to more revelations about other lost sites and artifacts. The tomb could also prompt the re-examination of previous discoveries that may have been overlooked or misinterpreted. As such, the discovery of Cleopatra's tomb could be the beginning of a new chapter in Egyptology, where new technologies, methodologies, and interdisciplinary approaches to research transform the way ancient history is studied and understood. However, with the potential for such groundbreaking discoveries comes the responsibility of preservation. Egypt faces significant challenges in maintaining the integrity of its archaeological sites, and the discovery of Cleopatra's tomb is no exception. The increasing influx of tourists, coupled with the threats posed by climate change, urbanization, and looting, puts a strain on the preservation of ancient sites. There's also the issue of balancing academic research with public access, as it is crucial to make the tomb accessible to the public while ensuring its protection. Many archaeologists argue that more sustainable methods need to be implemented to safeguard the tomb for future generations, and there is a growing call for international collaboration to address these preservation issues. As technology advances, new methods of conserving and preserving ancient sites are emerging, and it's likely that Cleopatra's tomb will be one of the first to benefit from these innovations. Future plans for the tomb may include creating a controlled environment for visitors, implementing state-of-the-art monitoring systems, and promoting educational initiatives to raise awareness about the importance of preserving Egypt's archaeological heritage. If managed properly, Cleopatra's tomb could become not only a key research site, but also a symbol of how modern archaeology can bridge the past and the future. That's it for today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future content.